You may recall I told you last month that there was a federal court hearing about the Awan brothers' Democratic IT scandal. What is the Democratic IT scandal? It involves Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who had an individual, one of the Awan brothers, working for her, and his family was working for he and his family were working across the House for Democrats, having access to all sorts of sensitive data. So eventually, here's the detail. Awan and his family were banned from the House computer network in February 2017 after the House's top law enforcement officer wrote that Awan was an ongoing and serious risk to the House of Representatives, possibly threatening the integrity of our information systems, and that a server containing evidence had gone missing. The Inspector General said server logs showed unauthorized access and procurement records were falsified. Awan was Schultz's top information technology aide. He had been fired from the other offices, but Schultz kept him on until he was arrested in 2017 trying to board a flight to Pakistan. He was given a plea deal by the Deep State Justice Department and pled guilty to federal bank fraud, but prosecutors found, quote, no evidence that Awan had violated federal law with respect to the House computer systems. The Awan brothers reportedly were not given background checks before being given access to highly sensitive government information, and no explanations have been given as to why. Additionally, if they had been run this background check, they would have found out not only multiple criminal convictions, but a $1 million bankruptcy, a dozen lawsuits, and many other red flags. So that's the way that Congress runs its operations. So you know what? When you call your House member and you say, I've got a Social Security problem, or my kid is having a student loan problem, or I'm not getting my benefit check, or can I get my grandchild or my son into a school, or I've got this complaint I want to share with you, and that material is logged into a computer system, it was all put at risk. Wait, I shouldn't have thrown that down there. A little too much drama. It's all put at risk. So not only was Congress's secure classified material put at risk potentially, but your privacy was put at risk. And they didn't want to contend with the other issues, so they pled him out to bank fraud. So what did Judicial Watch do? We asked for the documents from the Justice Department. And they were supposed to produce to us these documents in November. But then they told us that they were having, quote, technical difficulties. Well, there were no technical difficulties. That was not true. That was a lie. The Justice Department lied to us, lied essentially to the court. The technical difficulty was the judge who had handled his criminal case was considering a sealing request of some type, meaning that he should be putting records under seal so there wouldn't be access to the public and would affect the production. So rather than just be honest with us about that, they pretended there were technical difficulties. So the judge in the case was frustrated and said, you know, you need to explain what's going on and tell me by January 10th. So they filed something on January 10th, and despite the judge's request that they try to give Judicial Watch at least some detail if it was partly going to be under seal, they didn't do any of that. So the judge on Monday of this week called a snap hearing for Wednesday. So we were in court on Wednesday, and I'm in there in the courtroom. I'm there as the client, more or less. I represent Judicial Watch as president of Judicial Watch. I'm honored to do it, but I'm not supposed to cause trouble. I just sit there and watch and listen and talk to my lawyer, my attorney colleague when appropriate. And so the government brings in their lawyers, and the judge says, look, I've got this motion under seal. It turns out the judge did file something under seal. And the question is how many documents are covered by the seal and whether the Justice Department can produce the records. And so now there are 50,000 plus records that we have yet to get access to, that the government's going to get back to the judge on next month. And we still don't know why anything's under seal. The case is over. Why is it under seal? I don't know. And of course, I want to read my quote because I think I said it better in my quote than I'll probably remember it now. The cover-up of the Awan brothers IT scandal shows the FBI and DOJ's penchant for dishonesty isn't just limited to the FISA abuse. The handling of the Awan brothers case has long been an issue of concern, and now we're expected to believe some secret investigation prevents the public from knowing the full truth about this scandal. Well, we are skeptical, but we're going to have to wait. And if this, our request, I think, was filed, let me see when our request was filed. Well, our lawsuit was filed in November of 2018. So it looks like the sealing order probably was issued in November of 2019. So if the Justice Department and the FBI had been following the law, we would have had all of the records. Instead, we had no records because they delayed for a year. And I'm sure our request was much earlier than the November 2018 date. Now, I go over this to highlight the fact that Judicial Watch has to go to extraordinary lengths to get basic information requests honored by the government. And you can see why we have to spend so much time and effort and money to do this work. And in this case, they're protecting the corrupt Congress. We can't FOIA Congress because the law, the Freedom of Information Act, doesn't require Congress to respond to document requests. Congress has exempted itself from FOIA. They've also exempted the federal courts from FOIA, which I also think is inappropriate. So we have to think of ways to get information about what's going on in Congress by FOIAing the executive branch. In this case, the Justice Department investigation of that congressional scandal. And it's been a year, it's going to be a year and a half, I guarantee you, before we see one document on it. Isn't that outrageous?
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.